Hello, this is Mart back again. I'm an actor and filmmaker based out of South Florida, and for this video, I'm going to be reacting to the Odyssey trailer. It dropped, I think, a week ago, so I am a bit delayed on this. Actually, 2 weeks ago, apparently, from this. At least at the time that I'm filming this video. And yeah, here's the thing. It's not that I didn't care to see this trailer. It's just that it hasn't been on the top of my mind. Essentially, is what it comes down to. It's like, oh, the trailer released. Okay, cool. I'll watch it. Eventually, I'll admit, I am excited for this movie. Don't get me wrong. I am excited for this movie, and I think it comes out like in 2 months. It comes out July 17th, and I'm currently filming this May 18th. So in 2 months. So it comes out in 2 months. It's not that I'm not excited to watch this movie, but it's just one of those things in general that I'm trying to detox, I guess, in a sense, from watching movies in general. I just didn't really care because of that. I just didn't really care to watch trailers, and even in general, I don't typically care to watch trailers. Some of the ones I have reacted to are some of the ones I'm more excited to watch. So I guess it is kind of a bit of a contradiction. Like, oh, I'm excited to watch Odyssey, but I don't care to watch a trailer. So there's kind of that. But the main reason I'm watching this trailer and to further discuss this is because a lot of the controversy that's, I guess, come out of watching this trailer, or people reacting to this trailer, there's a lot of controversy and behind-the-scenes stuff about it. And, I kind of want to discuss that, but I guess, might as well just do a trailer review, trailer reaction, and just kind of go from there. Because I guess this movie isn't Greek enough, or it's too woke, or... Let me watch this trailer, starting now. Universal.
Tell me what you remember.
A wife?
Anne Hathaway, one of my favorite actresses.
And then what?
We won the war.
Is that John Bernthal? I mean, I know he's in this movie.
Help me go home.
This is a household waiting for master.
Oh, God, is that okay?
I want you to choose me.
Ithaca's king is coming back.
No, he's not.
The Cyclops.
What would he do if he came back here and find all these suitors in his house?
You're pining for a daddy you didn't even know, like some sniveling bastard.
Okay, that daddy line is kind of weird.
After your wife and son.
Do you see?
My dad is coming home.
Bringing vengeance.
Bringing it all.
Oh, those are giants. Okay.
I need everyone at this party dead.
I can still save them.
You're a man who needs to control his fate. But you cannot control this. That world is gone.
No one could stand between me and home. Not even the gods. Keep us free!
That's the cyclone. Oh, what is that? Whirlpool? Ooh.
I think it's asleep.
I don't think it's asleep. Okay, that's awesome. So, okay, first reactions. I actually like the trailer. Okay, I will say the daddy line. That's weird. I'll agree with you that. I didn't hear that. I'm like, daddy, what? Yeah, that line, I'll agree with the masses. That's a pretty weird line. I mean, they didn't have to say daddy. They could just like, father, something like that. There's a few controversies with this, and look, just right off the bat, I'm just gonna say that I think most of the controversies are kind of dumb. So I'll just start with that. I guess going on with the daddy line, since that's the first one I'm gonna talk about clearly right off the bat. Yeah, that's I'm not defending that, by the way. I'm not gonna defend the fact that they should or should not use daddy. I don't think they should use daddy. Period. I'm just putting on my notes here very fast, but I think the one thing I would say to that, because everybody's like, oh, it should be like the original language. Okay, if we want it to be like, sound like the original language, just would all be in Greek. Okay, he'd have to put like a Mel Gibson. Christopher Nolan would have to pull up Mel Gibson and do this all in Greek, just like Gibson did with Passion of the Christ and doing it in all Aramaic and Hebrew and stuff. So that's for starters. In a sense, the language was always going to be somewhat modernized. Now, again, using the term daddy, that is kind of weird. I'm not even going to begin to defend that. I will say that is rather weird. And wow, my face looks really washed out right now. It's because I have some notes here in regards to some of the controversies that I want to discuss. But wow, this looks really washed out. I'm also going to comment this very fast because it was just hitting me while I was watching the trailer. But Anne Hathaway, she looks beautiful. Like I'll be honest right now, Anne Hathaway is one of my favorite actresses of all time. And she always looks stunning. I do know some people, I guess it's kind of controversial, I guess going in with the controversy, some people are like, oh, she's not acting as well as she is because of all the fillers or face surgeries, plastic face surgeries, whatever, that she's had done to her. And yeah, that's a problem. I'm not going to deny it. I don't think that pertains to just Anne Hathaway, all things considered. That could pertain to a bunch of the actors, or just across the board. Forget the Odyssey for a second. I think that pertains to a lot of actors just across Hollywood. But I think sadly, and I will say this is a sad thing, but it's also the reality of the situation. Sadly, you know, it's just one of those things you have to get accustomed to. You know, it's not ideal, but what can you do? They've had the procedure done. What can you do? You know, it's one thing you can't we just have to deal with as an audience, for better or worse. But that being said, she still looks great. She is one of my favorite actresses, so I'm going to be very excited, I guess, you know, watching her performance in this movie. I guess talking in relation to the language, the modernization of the language, I know some people are also critiquing the modernization of the costumes. And I'm like, really? We're discussing the costumes? Like, granted, this is the first trailer I've seen. I've seen pictures and whatnot, but like, me personally, I don't see an issue with the costume. Like, what you have to remember, and this is something I'm going to be discussing just in general, I guess, in tandem with the modernization of the acting, and then some of the other casting news that came about with this, it's the fact that this is all a fantasy story. So some of these things you can't really take as seriously as you can. And I know the argument is like, yes, it's a fantasy story, but it's still based in Greek history in a sense. And I get that, but for me, this looks old-timey. This looks like of its era. The costumes look of its era, or the era that's supposed to portray. Let's say, turn of the millennium, I guess, or like, I don't know. When was the Odyssey written? Let me check that. In the 8th century BCE, 725 to 675 BCE. So this is even before Christ. Okay. That the costumes look accurate enough to me. I guess, like, I don't really know what to say to that. You know, granted, I haven't really gone in depth and seen why it's not of the era, or why it is of the era, like down to the nitty gritty. But at the same time, I think me personally, I feel like that's one of those things that people are taking a bit too seriously. Here's my question, because a lot of people are bringing up this movie or some of these movies, but like Alexander with Colin Firth, which Alexander was around the time of Jesus Christ, or even before that, Troy with Brad Pitt from about that same time, where people complaining about the costumes. Like, this is real talk. Were people complaining about the costumes? Because I feel like those costumes look very similar to like the costumes we have in this movie. You know, I guess in a sense it could be a bit more modernized because of the fit or the way it's made or this and the other, but like, it looks of the time. That's what I mean. It looks of the time. So I feel like those critiques are just kind of null and void. I feel like people are complaining for the sake of complaining. There are some casting news that I do want to get into. One of them I just find straight up racist. I'm not even going to deny it, and that is Lupita Nyong'o. So people are complaining that Lupita Nyong'o is cast in this movie because it's a race swapping thing. This, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. Jesus Christ, who gives a damn, realistically speaking? All that matters is that she can play the role, and she's playing two roles. She's playing Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra. So that's the other thing. And people are like, oh, she's supposed to be olive skin because this is all the Greeks. I'm like, who cares? Like, it's like, realistically, that area is like, what, Greek, North Macedonia, North Africa. Yeah, I would assume they have some melanin into them, you know? I just find these kinds of complaints just so stupid. Like even with the Snape thing, which, going back to Harry Potter for a second, like with the Snape stuff, like, oh, race swapping with Snape, this and the other, like, even with that I found kind of dumb. Looking back at it, the Snape has a little bit more credibility because of how it's described in the books, but that's even then, I think that argument is just generally stupid. Like, I just find most race swapping outrages in general to be generally stupid. Like, I genuinely feel like that. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, you could have made Odysseus black, you know, instead of it's not Mark Wahlberg. Instead of Matt Damon, I don't know, have it played by Idris Elba or Denzel or Michael B. Jordan. Like honestly, I personally would not have cared left or right. Had it been a white guy, black guy, Asian, I don't know, this Steven Yeun's played this, yes, I don't care. You know, like, for me, like, stuff like that generally doesn't matter until we talk about, like, real life people. Like if Odysseus was a real life person, you know, if Clytemnestra and Helen of Troy were real life people, okay, then we have an argument there. But since these are fictional characters where their race, generally speaking, does not matter, them being black, them being white, Asian, native, green, pink, purple, does not matter. And I find these arguments always so tirelessly, racistly boring and dull and frankly semi-arrogant, honestly, after a while. And I know the argument is, okay, cool, then if you have a black character, can we turn them white? Honestly, unless the race is integral to the character, sure, race swap it. I don't care. Honestly, race swap it from a black person to a white person. I really don't care unless the race is actually pertinent to the character. I don't care. Like, I genuinely do not care. On to other casting news. I guess Travis Scott is in this movie? I'm sorry, I thought he got canceled after his whole concert fiasco that, like, left a bunch of people dead. Why is he still around? I'm surprised he didn't even go to jail for that. Did he even get charged for that? That's a whole different thing. Travis Scott is in this movie. He is going to be portraying the role of Demodocus. I believe that's how you pronounce the character's name. Now, first off, I don't think I've ever seen Travis Scott act in anything before. That's not to say that he's a bad actor. But me personally, I don't know anything that he's acted in. I mean, even looking at his filmography for acting credits, it's mostly like his music videos or stuff with Asaka. So there you have Ice Spice. So a bunch of music videos. There's something called Aggro Drift, where he plays the character of Zion. Circus Maximus, that seems to be like a movie. Oh yeah, I guess he has a role in the Troll movies. Troll's Holiday in Harmony as Ramosaurus. But it's mostly music videos, either his or other people's. Don Toliver, Rosalia, Kanye, Justin Bieber, okay, Jack Boys, a bunch of Jack Boys stuff. Young Thug, etc., etc., etc. Gully. Oh, that's a movie, yeah, Gully. I forgot about that movie. Outside of music videos, he was in Ballers. So yeah, outside of music videos, he's basically done a few acting stuff, nothing real notable, all things considered. I guess Gully will be the biggest thing he's been in, I think, and even then, that was critically trashed, and I don't even know how big of a role he has in that movie to begin with. I do think that I'll be honest, that is a bit of an odd choice in general for this movie, just having Travis Scott. My guess is, even before I get to Christopher Nolan's comments as to why he cast Travis Scott in the first place, but my guess is that the role isn't that substantial. He's probably in it just for like a scene, you know, with probably like lasting 5 minutes, telling Odysseus, hey, this is what's going on, this is the lore, or whatever he needs to tell him, and that's it. You know, and let's be honest, it's not uncommon for Christopher Nolan to use musicians in his films. I mean, he used Harry Styles in Dunkirk, for example. I think that's the most notable example. You know, so, and he also used David Bowie in the past for the Prestige, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was a Prestige. So he's used musicians in general in his films. So that's not even out of the ordinary for Christopher Nolan to begin with. But I do think this is kind of an odd inclusion. I mean, just Travis Scott being a controversial figure to begin with, there's that too. But my guess is the fact that he's just used for that one scene. Now, to quote Christopher Nolan, the reason he cast him in this movie, and in that role in particular, is because of this. I cast him because I wanted to nod towards the idea that this story has been handed down as oral poetry, which is analogous to rap. I guess that makes sense, and I'm using, I guess, very heavily there. I guess I see where he's coming from. But at the end of the day, too, it also just comes down to the fact that this is Christopher Nolan. This is his film. He's directing it. He wrote it. He produced it. He can do whatever the hell he wants for his film. If he believes that Travis Scott is the best person for this role, he will have Travis Scott be in this movie to portray the role that he wants. So, as random of a casting choice this is, even for me, I'll admit, as random of a casting choice as this is a movie. If he wants to put him in there, so be it. I just go back to, like, how is Travis Scott, like, this is beyond Christopher Nolan, but, like, why is Travis Scott still allowed to perform in general after that whole fiasco from a few years back where left several people dead at his concert and he did not give a damn about it? Like, I'm surprised he got away scot-free. Also, Travis Scott, hot take, not even that good of a rapper. I'll say this much, better than Drake, which, speaking of which, what the hell was that Iceman album? Yeesh. You know, there's a reason Kendrick buried you a few years back. I'm surprised they're still trying to come back like The Walking Dead. And then the last bit of casting news I want to discuss is the whole Ellen Page of it. The rumor is that Page is going to be portraying Achilles. Again, I know I just said that Christopher Nolan, he can do whatever he wants for his film, but I also feel like it has to make some sense. Now, I will say with this, with the whole Page casting news, this is a rumor, so it is confirmed that they are going to be in the film. However, it has yet to be confirmed what role, what character they're going to be portraying in the film. For all we know, it may not be Achilles. And I really hope it's not Achilles. Achilles, like, this is one of those things, you can make Achilles black, white, Asian, blue, purple, pink, I don't care. Make them whatever color you want. But with someone like with Achilles, where their story legendarily, mythically involves them being a warrior, you know, you expect somebody strong. That's why about 20 years back, we had Brad Pitt, a very strong person, you know, who's built like a beast, at least at that time, generally speaking. You know, someone who looks like a warrior. Paige is a skinny little stick. I don't care how much weight training they do, they're always going to be a skinny little stick. And honestly, I think this is one of those situations where them being trans actually even hurts the fact that they're being cast in this movie. If they were cast as, I don't know, maids number 5, or like a small role, like one of the senators or something, you know, that where the gender of the character doesn't matter as much or at all. Sure, go ahead. You could be Senator, I don't know any of the characters' names, like Senator Plato, for example. I don't know, right? We're like, oh, Plato's usually described as a guy, but hey, right now we want it to be portrayed by a woman, you know, or someone who identifies as a woman, but's really a guy, you know. But sure, have him cast there. But here we're talking about Achilles, a male warrior, a bastion of strength and power, who's going to be portrayed by somebody who's about my height and is a skinny little stick. I'm about 5'6", by the way. Does that really show I guess confidence, but like, does that really make sense? I feel like this is one of those situations where, like, Chris, yes, you can do whatever you want. I hope it works out. But I think this is one of those things where it's working against you. And I think the fact that Paige is trans even hurts the fact for this casting, if it is true. Again, if there's Senator Plato, whatever, I don't know the characters. If you're a senator, or like Odysseus' neighbor, or one of Tom Holland's friends, or whatever, that's usually a guy, but now they want to portray it by a girl because of X, Y, and Z. Sure, why not? But again, someone like Achilles should be portrayed by someone who is a guy. Like, they should have gotten someone like Glenn Powell for this role. Someone who, or, you know, or John David Washington, or Michael B. Jordan, or hell, Steven Yeun. You know, at least he has some meat on him, you know? Somebody who actually is built, you know, at least athletic, who has at least a bit of an athletic build. Not somebody who's built like a stick. I feel like, if anything, this is the one casting news where I do see the issue in it, because it absolutely makes no sense. Again, I genuinely think the fact that they are trans, that Paige is a trans person, hurts the character. Again, if it's Achilles, I genuinely think this hurts the character. Let's see, what's a popular female character that's like a bastion of femininity? If you were making a movie about Athena, you know, the Greek goddess Athena, but then you got Sam Smith or Lil Nas X to portray Athena, that will be an issue. I know. By the way, Sam Smith or Lil Nas don't identify as trans, but those are the first people that came up to my mind. But either way, that will be an issue. Right here, what is a trans male to female actor? Let me see. Laverne Cox. Okay, there, Laverne Cox or Hunter Schafer. If you had the character of Athena portrayed by a trans person, trans actor, who's male to female, so Hunter Schafer, Laverne Cox, because those are the ones I've heard of, that will be an issue, because then you're stripping away the femininity, and likewise with Achilles, you're stripping away the masculinity, because now you're confusing it with the trans of it all. In my opinion, that is an issue. That is woke culture working against the film itself. If anything, I think this is the most damaging thing. Of all the controversies, this is the one I actually buy into the most. And that, like, maybe some of the modernization of the language, like daddy is so weird. I'm not, that one is weird. But like all the other controversies, like, oh, Lupita Nyong'o, it doesn't make sense because she's black and usually the character's white. Like that's a stupid controversy. Oh, the costumes are like way too modern. That's a stupid controversy, you know. Okay, we're talking about a fantasy story, but this is one of those things where it makes sense. The trans of it all hurts it. Let's say Paige was born a male, and they've always been a male. You still have the issue of they're a skinny little stick, and Achilles is supposed to be this grand warrior of mythical legend. One does not compute with the other. That's my thoughts on all the controversies. That's my thoughts on the trailer. I think the trailer's good. I'm actually surprised not thinking about it. Was Lupita Nyong'o even in the trailer? The trailer looks good. It looks like it has some great special effects. I do think there is a certain element of this where I think it's people just hating on Nolan. I think Nolan's gotten to that point where he made it so big with Oppenheimer that's kind of time to tear him down. And I've heard some other people discuss this, and I feel like to a certain degree this is, because I do think that the bulk of these controversies are honestly just pointless. Like, genuinely pointless. The only one that I think that holds some true, substantial weight is the Ellen page of it all. That's really the only controversy that I think really does hold some substantial truth to it, where even I takes a lot of issue with it. Trans or not, just physically speaking, they do not resemble the character how it's typically portrayed. Again, you could have got in somebody who's at least athletically built, like Steven Yeun, or again, John David Washington, Michael B. Jordan, Glenn Powell, Ryan Reynolds, or Keanu, for all I care. You know, if you want something older. But you need somebody who's actually built. Even at least an athletic belt would help you, you know? You get the skinniest person alive, one of the skinniest, one of the smallest people here in the industry to portray one of your grandest warriors. Well, again, one does not compete with the other, and that's, again, before the actual trans of it all. Which, in this case, I do think it is woke culture working against film. But again, that's only if they're actually going to be portraying Achilles. And again, if they're portraying anybody else, then it doesn't really matter. That's basically it. We'll see what happens when the movie comes out. This is Daniel Mart, signing off. Let's see how much hate I get for those trans comments, though. I still stand by them.